So hello, this is a first time experimental thing that I'm doing for YouTube. It's going to be called something like Fresh Off the Stalls. So the idea behind this is that I get someone who I've seen play with, in this case theatre reviewer Paul Vale, to straight off the bat come out of a play and talk about what we've seen. So what we've seen today is Ladylogues, here's the thing, which is a collection of short one-woman plays. Well, it's a collection of short one-woman plays.
Yes.
So, initial thoughts, Paul. What did you rate the entire evening? How did you think?
I found it interesting and entertaining. Entertaining mostly. There were, I think, three very humorous pieces there, nicely balanced with three quite dramatic monologues. I think, to be honest, one of the things that struck me, and having read the notes beforehand, is that it says that they were given the opportunity to write about anything they wanted to write about. Carte blanche. And I was very surprised at how they were all... a lot of them seemed to do with how men perceived them. And that rather surprised me.
Well, I quite liked it. I suppose it's easy for women to write about sort of things they sort of want to tackle, and there's definitely sort of a sense of a perspective on womanhood and feminism through everything, and I really like that because as a man I can only think like a man as much as I am an ally towards these things, and I think the way that each play presented these issues were ranged from the amusing to the heartbreaking to the really dark. Particularly Serena Hayward's Take a Look at Me Now, which was just like bristling with a brilliant humour, but such a intense dark undertone about the sort of psychological damage that hideous men can do to people. So,
and we all know about that.
Yes, we do. So yeah, I really loved it. But it is interesting that they're giving us a carte blanche, and they've written about some very sort of issues on womanhood and perception of womanhood.
Yes.
But I like it. It was done so well, and it's done really revealingly. So, if you had to pick one favourite, what would you say it was?
For me, easily, my favourite was let's see what it's called. Ella O'Malley _audition.mov.
You missed out an underscore, but we'll forgive you. Ellie O'Malley audition.mov by Katie McCullough or McCullough or McCullough.
I would have guessed. Performed by Jane Edwards, brilliantly performed by Jane Edwards. I felt this one to be one of the humorous ones that had a very dark undertone, and there was a lot not being said but implied, and I found this to be the most satisfying of all the monologues, personally. Obviously it's a subject close to all our hearts, weight issues, and it just really, really got to me. I just thought I think this tied in as well to, I think, the concept nowadays that it's possibly easier to get by as long as you can get by on TV. As long as you can... I'm freezing now.
It's alright. Totally unrehearsed.
Okay.
This actually made me cry a little, I've got to say. I felt that Katie McCullough really sort of got into a real sort of devastation about sort of that body image can cause. It was marvellous, and Jane Edwards performed it brilliantly.
It was for me, it was the most moving performance. The performance I could connect with the least was Take a Look at Me Now.
Fair enough.
I found it vaguely obscure. I didn't quite know what was going on for a long time. I didn't quite work out how this was a dark piece. Not to disagree with you.
No,
maybe
fine.
I
You
just
can
missed
disagree
it.
with me. Yeah.
It's a bit like in the last speech, which was my second favourite piece, I Would Be Brave. I wasn't quite sure of what was going on over the road. I don't think the writers made it clear the other thing that was going on. We knew what was going on in this woman's life, but she was obviously doing something, and I just didn't pick up on it at all.
I quite like that ambiguity though, because I think the ambiguity, from my personal view with I Will Be Brave, actually makes you sort of want to know more. Actually makes you. I think there's enough going on. I certainly think domestic violence. I'm not sure what the letter was, but I love that sort of helplessness of a woman trying to do the right thing, trying to help someone who really needs it, who's really going through a terrible time, whilst trying to balance her own problems and her own health. And I think Sarah Hehir, we're not doing too great on names, I do apologise, but the author, I think, approached it with a real poetry.
Yes, very much so. There was a it was very much a poetic piece, I felt, perhaps more so than any of the other pieces. I loved Coconut.
That's going to be my favourite, actually. I think
Yes.
Coconut, as much as a very close second was Take a Look at Me Now, because I just love the humour. I love what I found the sort of dark undertone that this poor woman's been driven to distraction and obsession with Phil Collins because her last relationship was so hideous. But Coconut, I loved a really breezy, honest look at ethnic identity and womanhood, and just approached with so much humour and so much truth.
I think this was easily the best comic piece in there, and it was very amusing. There were lots of real genuine laugh out loud moments in that piece. Fair play to Maud Grondor for Cake.
See, Cake was my least favourite, but not because I think it's the worst written. I think it's my least favourite because it's the most uncomfortable. You're taking this teenage girl who's kind of got these sort of real mixed up notions of what it is to be a female, what it is about feminism, like shunning, not almost shunning, but kind of like belittling a little her friend who has a child, so a teenage mother, and saying that's not what it means to be, being tied down is not what it means to me, but at the same time obsessing over this 15-year-old boy, and then coming up with things which I would certainly say was like, well, no, that sits uneasy with me in my sort of definition of feminism. So it's very much about a confused girl, and I was just like, especially some of the language and some of the things said, which made other people laugh, made me feel uneasy because of my perception. And as I said, it's my least favourite because it was the one that was the most challenging from my point of view.
I found it very, very difficult once I realised that she hadn't creamed that sugar and butter enough. I thought, well, stop believing this. Stop believing this. If you're going to do something real time, get it right. Get it right. But no, fair play. It was Rhiannon did wonderfully in that. Well done. I could make a cake and talk to people at the same time.
I could.
I could eat a cake.
I'm just saying.
I could eat a cake and talk to people at the same time.
Well, you shouldn't. You shouldn't talk with your mouth full. Wise words for all of us. Anyway, I think overall I really loved the evening.
We haven't mentioned Candyman.
Oh, we haven't mentioned Candyman yet. We should. I really liked it.
It was good. It was something that I've heard before. I've seen that on stage before. I'm not saying it was a copy of anything. It was just nothing new to me. And again, and I think this is one of the problems that sometimes you have with writing, I wasn't quite sure what happened in the end. Why did he not turn up to his audition?
Again, I like that ambiguity. I like to be left sort of making up my own stories.
Did she kill him? Did she trap him? Did she lock him in the bathroom?
That's what I thought.
I don't know. I've got no idea. This is
because she said the whole thing like, if he didn't look at the clock, I might have let it go. So it sounds like she may have like kept him as some sort of like kinky sex slave. We all have one, don't we?
No.
Anyway, enough on that subject. But yeah, I think I did like that one. Louise Templeton was a marvellous performer in that.
All very good.
Yeah, it's just
all extremely good performances.
But I think you're right. I think, as much as I say Cake was my least favourite because it was difficult, I think the least impressive was Candyman because it didn't seem to. I'm trying not to sound too harsh because I did genuinely like it, but it wasn't as something as striking and as. Yeah, it just wasn't as striking as the other ones, but still, I really enjoyed it. Marvellous performance, great writing. I think overall, I really loved it. It's a great selection, really touched on some interesting issues.
Yes.
on womanhood and femininity, and they said it's challenging at the same time, some of them.
Definitely.
So I'd certainly recommend anyone who is going to see anything on the Camden Fringe this week to certainly take this one in.
Definitely. You promised me wine? I mean, what's this? You said wine.
There's no rum in this. There's no rum.